Hey YouTubers, welcome back to John's Garage. So today we have our 3.2 Acura TL and we are going to change the automatic transmission fluid. So what you want to do is go to the dealer and buy 4 quarts. It really only needs 3.1 maybe. But you can get this at Honda or Acura. The only difference is the word right there. It's either going to say Honda or Acura, but it'll say automatic transmission fluid ATF DW-1. That is the most important thing, is ATF DW-1. You want to get it from Honda or Acura. I wouldn't trust anything else from an auto parts store. So this is like super important for Honda Acura transmissions, automatic transmissions. So it holds, this is a 5-speed automatic, and it holds 6 quarts if you could get it all out, but half of it's going to stay in the torque converter. So this is a really simple operation. We're going to drain out all that we can drain out, which is 3 quarts, maybe 3.1, and then we're going to put in the same amount. So we're going to put in 3 brand new quarts, then we're going to run the transmission and check the dipstick after we turn it off and see if it's at the proper mark on the dipstick. So make sure you buy your fluid before you start this job, and then I'll show you the tools you're going to need. And the main tool is just a socket. You just need the square head of the socket to get the drain plug out underneath the car. I'll show you that. It's pretty simple. You'll need to put your car up on jack stands or ramps. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have. This car is on plastic rhino ramps, and I put chocks under the back wheel to keep it from moving. So we'll probably get 3 quarts out because the car is up on ramps, so it's tilted a little bit, so we'll probably get exactly 3.0 quarts out. If you have it up on jack stands, you might get 3.1. If you have a lift, if you're really well to do and you got a lift, great for you. It's not necessary, so you just need to be able to get underneath the front of the car. So here we go. Okay, so if we're on the driver's side of the car and we look down here, find the transmission, and that bolt right there is a transmission fill plug. So we're going to put a 17 millimeter 6-point half-inch drive socket on there. Whatever you've got that's 17 millimeter, put that on there. And then we're going to get a bunch of extensions on our breaker bar and put it on there. So we can be all the way up above here. There we go. So we got a breaker bar with a 17 millimeter, and then we're going to break that loose because that aluminum washer on there expands when the transmission gets hot, and this thing's usually pretty tight. So when you put it on, you don't have to make it that tight. Just give it a little torque, but don't overdo it because, like I say, that aluminum washer expands and this thing's usually a bear to get off. So let's break that loose. Okay. Oh, that wasn't too bad this time. Like I say, depending on who put it on last time, it could be really tight, so it wasn't so bad. So let's unscrew that. And that's what it looks like. Got that aluminum crush washer on there. And we can reuse this. It's in good shape, and like I say, it's not on the bottom, it's not going to leak or anything. So Just clean that off and reuse it. So one thing you're going to need is a really long funnel. I got this at the auto parts store. You can get a funnel with a hose, but I just prefer a rigid funnel like this because this thing, I can drop it in that hole and I'll stick it between a couple of hoses here and it'll stand up by itself. So when I go to fill it later, it makes it really easy. Get some better light there. So there we go. So the funnel stands right up and you can easily take your bottle and pour them this way and just pour it in there, and you don't have to worry about it leaking out the bottom. You can pour it as fast as you want and fill this funnel up high and it won't leak out. And you got to have one of these funnels to do this job, so just spend a couple of bucks and get a proper funnel. Okay, so now it's time to move under the car, and we're going to be on the driver's side. Just behind the bumper, you'll see the aluminum transmission housing, and this bolt right here. Okay, so let me give you a close-up. You can see that that has an opening for a square ratchet. So let's get our square ratchet lefty-loosey setting and just stick that in that hole. I'm going to push the button to get it to go all the way in there. Okay, so we're going to go lefty-loosey, and if you can't push it, you're going to need a little cheater pipe. So if you got some spare pipe laying around that'll fit over your wrench, or if you got even some, I've used PVC sprinkler pipe, as long as it's heavy duty, and it's got to be like whatever, 3/4 or 1/2 inch depending on your wrench, that you could fit it over there. That'll work. You only need like 6 inches of it, and then you can break that loose. So give it a hard push. You might even have to get under here with your foot. Depending on who put that bolt in, it could be pretty tight, and it's also got a aluminum washer that expands, so you might have to get your foot and use your whole leg muscle to push it and break it loose, and then you can unthread it. When you go to unthread it, you're going to have Niagara Falls of fluid coming out of there. It's only 3 quarts, but it comes out fast, so don't take that plug all the way out. Just loosen it and then kind of hold it. When you go to pull it out, just pull it like part way, and to keep that fluid from just gushing out. Okay, I ended up having to put my foot on the breaker bar and push towards the back of the car to break it loose. So that was pretty tight. So now we're going to take our wrench off of there and just unthread this by hand, and get your tray ready. And this is going to really come gushing out when it's, put my light in a different spot for you there. So I've got a glove on, pull my sleeves up. I'm going to try to avoid splashing the camera lens. So, missed the pan a little bit. Okay, here we go. There we go. Well, this fluid's pretty clean, and this is a magnetic plug, so any metal shavings off the gears are going to attach to this metal plug. You can see a little bit on there. It's not too bad. So we'll definitely wipe off this magnetic plug. We'll check the aluminum O-ring washer on there, and watch this dripping out. I got a little bit on the floor. So this fluid should be pink. It's still pretty pink, not too brown. like I say, you're only going to get half of it out doing this. So I'm going to do this like every 10 to 15,000 miles, and it'll keep the fluid nice and pink. This fluid right now has about 10,000, so it's not really brown or black. If it's brown or dark brown or black, that's not good for your transmission. So change it every 10 or 15,000 miles and you'll be good. So we're just going to let this finish dripping out for a while. And you don't want to do this when the car is hot, like you just drove it. It can be warm, but you know, you're working on this aluminum case and it tends to get really hot after driving it and you're going to burn yourself. This fluid, when it comes out, you don't want to burn your hands, so you don't have to do this when it's super hot. Just like engine oil, it can be warm. It comes out better when it's warm. This stuff is very viscous, so it'll come out at any temperature. So we'll just let it drain for a few minutes. We'll clean this, inspect the O-ring. You can buy new ones at the dealer, 25 cents or so. We'll wipe this magnet off. We'll stick it back in. You don't have to torque it with a dire strain. I'll put the torque specs in the comment section. Okay. Okay, so that's dripped out for a couple of minutes. So we've cleaned this. We've got the aluminum washer on there. Let's thread this back in by hand. There's that little drippy wipe. Get our square socket in there. Let's turn it the other direction. So righty-tighty. That is tight. So let me get a little short breaker bar on there so I can get a little bit more torque on it. Oh boy, I've made a mess. Okay, so we have torqued the drain bolt, and now we're back on top. We are ready to start filling our transmission. So 3 quarts. Okay, I just did a quick check underneath to make sure nothing's leaking out of the funnel or anywhere else. We're good, so we're going to continue pouring. This stuff's kind of expensive. I don't want to waste it. I don't want it pouring out on the ground. See how nice and pink and clear this is? That's what you want. That's one. With this funnel, like I said, you don't have to worry. You can fill it all the way up and it's not going to spill out anywhere. Okay, that's 2. And this is our 3rd quart. Okay, we'll just let the funnel finish draining down. Okay, so I removed the funnel and I'm going to put the 17mm drain plug back in with the aluminum O-ring. Thread it in by hand and then get your 17mm wrench on it and torque it to spec. Okay, so our fill plug is in, and now it's time to check the dipstick, which is the yellow dipstick next to the battery. So there we go. There's our yellow ATF dipstick. Let's pull that out and we will check that. Okay, let's get that dipstick out, wipe it, and put it back in. So that's good for now because we have not run the transmission. We need to circulate that fluid. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go for a drive around the block, manually shift through a couple of the gears to circulate the fluid, and then come back in on a flat garage floor without the ramps and check the fluid to make sure it is between the two dots, preferably at the upper dot because it's new fluid and it's full right now. So let me go for a drive real quick. So after a little drive, the fluid got warm. Wipe the dipstick, put it back in and check it because when you drive it, the fluid's going to go all over the stick. So wipe it down. Check that the fluid is between these two dots. And since we just did a change, it should be at the upper dot. So let's check that. So when you put this dipstick in, make sure that it goes all the way into this top of this rubber stop. Make sure it's not going to sit like right here when you think you put it in. Make sure it's all the way in, otherwise you're going to get an incorrect reading. So I just put it in and checked it, and our fluid is definitely at the upper of the two dots. So let me zoom in there so you can see those dots. There we go. So the upper dot is where the fluid is. That's where you want it. Since the car was on ramps, transmission was tilted a little bit. It took exactly 3 quarts. So I didn't even open the 4th one I bought. I bought that as a precaution just in case I spilled any or I need a little bit to top it off. So when you're on ramps, my experience has been it always takes 3.0 quarts to get you to that top mark. So we are good. I'm going to put the dipstick back in, make sure it's all the way in, and we can call this job done. Hey, you're still here. Well, you're probably wondering, what do I do with that old transmission fluid, the ATF? I got 3 quarts, what do I do with it? Treat it just like used engine oil, put it in a container, take it to your local auto parts store. They have a big tank that you can pour it into to recycle it. Don't pour it down the storm drain. Don't throw it in the garbage. Take it to an auto parts store. Be responsible. Recycle it. Now you can go. Bye.